ear and body consciousness function, but nose consciousness and tongue consciousness do not function, because at that level, i.e., at the level of the first dhyana, the smell and taste objects of perception do not exist, nor does the type of morsel nourishment which is connected with smell and taste. In the first dhyana, nourishment takes place through contact rather than through the eating of meals comprised of morsels of food, the first of the four types. Ordinarily we think only of nourishing our bodies through the intake of ordinary food and drink, however, the Buddha Dharma distinguishes four kinds of nourishment.
1. Mouthfuls. This kind is distinguished by the nose and tongue. Its substance is perceived through smell, taste, and contact. This ordinary food, bodily nutriment, changes and decays. It can be gross, solid, or fine. This kind of nourishment takes place only in the realm of desire. 2. Mental contact. This kind nourishes the body by contact with joyous situations. In other words, that the first six consciousnesses seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and cognizing can have special value as food. Nourishment by contact does not exist independent of the fourth kind of nourishment, see below. 3. Volition. When associated with the sixth consciousness, volition can function as food. It is characterized by desire for perceptual objects, thus aiding the five perceptual organs in attaining their objects. It occurs in all three realms, but does not exist independent of the fourth kind of nourishment. Therefore, the sixth consciousness in itself can have special value as food. 4. Consciousness. According to the Mahayana, it refers to the eighth consciousness. It indicates that consciousness is capable of nourishing the bodily life of sentient beings. Life feeds off the eighth consciousness, the basic life force or life energy. When that life energy is exhausted, death occurs.
One of the basic ideas here is that the nourishment needed by a being corresponds to its level of vital and conscious life. Coarse food is effective nourishment for a coarse organism but is of no use for a fine one. Higher and higher levels of life and consciousness must be fed with progressively finer and finer kinds of nourishment. Yet in the conditioned world, even life on the finest and highest level of consciousness must eat. Beyond the first dhyana, that is, on the third through ninth grounds, none of the five consciousnesses arise. They interact with the universally interactive, the particular states, the 11 wholesome. 2 intermediate grade, 8 major grade, greed, anger, and foolishness.
The five consciousnesses are called mind-dharmas, as are all of the 8 consciousnesses. The 5 interact with 31 dharmas interactive with the mind. Dharmas interactive with the mind arise from the mind, that is, from mind-dharmas. They are dependent upon mind-dharmas for their existence, and interact with them. They represent a finer, secondary level of distinction-making. The 31 are: A. 5 universally interactive: attention, contact, feeling, conceptualization, and deliberation. B. 5 particular states: desire, resolution, recollection, concentration, and judgment. C. 11 wholesome states: faith, vigor, shame, remorse, absence of greed, absence of anger, absence of foolishness, light ease, non-laxness, renunciation, and non-harming. D. 2 intermediate grade derivative afflictions: lack of shame and lack of remorse. E. 8 major grade derivative afflictions: lack of faith, laziness, laxness, torpor, restlessness, distraction, improper knowledge, and forgetfulness.
To say that the first 5 consciousnesses interact with these dharmas means that when the first 5 consciousnesses are functioning, any of these dharmas may arise and influence them. The above dharmas are listed in the 100 dharmas under the second of the 5 categories, dharmas interactive with the mind. The other categories of the 100 dharmas are mind dharmas, form dharmas, dharmas not interactive with the mind, and unconditioned dharmas. For further information on the 100 dharmas, see Shastra on the Door to Understanding the 100 Dharmas by Vajrabandha Bodhisattva with commentary of Tripitaka Master Hua. The 5 consciousnesses are all supported by organs of pure form.
There are 5 perceptual organs: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body, which are the basis or support of the activities of the first 5 consciousnesses. Each organ has 2 portions. The first is the physical organ and its neural pathways, which belongs to the proximate perceived division of the 8th consciousness. The perceived division of the 8th consciousness is divided into 2 portions, the proximate and the distal. The proximate refers to the physical aspect of the 6 faculties, while the distal refers to the rest of the external world. In other words, it is material, it is categorized as form and is distinguished from other, distal, forms, which are the objects of the organ's perception. The second portion is the organ of pure form. The organ of pure form refers to the organ of pure mental substance within the physical organ. You don't smell with your physical nose organ but with the organ of pure form within the physical nose organ. Pure form refers to the state in which the 4 great elements are in perfect equilibrium. Pure form is imperceptible except through the use of the heavenly eye.
That with 9 preconditions and those with 7 and 8 are close neighbors. The 5 consciousnesses have 7, 8, or 9 preconditions for their coming into being. The 5 are grouped together and are said to be close neighbors because their modes of functioning are very similar in distinction to the other 6th, 7th, and 8th consciousnesses. The number of causal preconditions necessary for the rise of the 8 consciousnesses varies from 9 to 3 among the 8 consciousnesses. The 9 preconditions are space, light, faculty, state, attention, basis of discrimination, basis of defilement and purity, fundamental basis, and seeds as basis. The basis of discrimination refers to the 6th consciousness, the basis of defilement and purity to the 7th consciousness, while the fundamental basis and seeds as basis refer to the 8th consciousness.
All 9 preconditions are necessary for the coming into being of I consciousness, and so the verse refers to I consciousness as that with 9 preconditions. Only 8, no light, are necessary for ear consciousness. For nose dash, tongue dash, and body consciousness, 7 of the 9 are required, no light and no space. All 5 consciousnesses have in common their reliance on the 6th, 7th, and 8th consciousnesses as preconditions for their manifestation. 3 perceive the world of defilement by contact and 2 perceive it at a distance. Eyes and ears perceive at a distance, while nose, tongue, and body perceive through contact. The foolish have difficulty distinguishing consciousness from organ.
The foolish refers to the arhats and lesser beings of the Hinayana teachings, who are unaware of the 3 divisions of the 8th consciousness: the self-verifying division, the perceiver division, and the perceived division. Perceptual organs have the capability of illuminating states, while consciousnesses have the capability of making distinctions. Quoted by Chan Master Han Chan, Siang Siang Tung Shuo. The transformation of the perceived division in the contemplation of emptiness is merely later attained wisdom. The objects of the 5 consciousnesses are the 5 defilers: sights, sounds, smells, tastes, and tangible objects. They have their basis in the perceived division of the 8th consciousness. That is, they are a development of the 8th consciousness which takes place because of further distinction making. The 5 consciousnesses have their basis in the 5 perceptual organs, that is, the organs of pure form and not the physical organs. As explained above, the physical organ belongs to the proximate portion of the perceived division, while the organ of pure form belongs to the perceiver division. In the contemplation discussed here, attachment to the perceived division is broken by a change in the functioning of the organ of at the fruition. If there is still self, there is not total truth.
At the fruition refers to reaching the goal of one's practice. If the enlightened awareness attained still contains the distinction, however fine, of subject and object, then it is still based on the perceiver division and not on the Buddha mind. At the initial emergence of perfect clarity, the state of no outflows is realized. Perfect clarity refers to the great mirror wisdom. Although on the 8th ground the 8th consciousness continues to act as the supporting basis for the extremely subtle spontaneous affliction that the Bodhisattva purposely preserves as the vehicle of his continued rebirth in the world, in every other sense.